Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, and the sun is gone. Not forever, just 24 hours. No sunrise, no warmth, just 8 minutes of leftover light, and then absolute darkness across the entire planet. You might think, it's just one day, we'll be fine. You'd be wrong. Within hours, things would go catastrophically, irreversibly wrong. And some of the changes would never fully undo themselves. This is what would actually happen, minute by minute, if the sun went dark for exactly 24 hours. Here's the first mind-bending fact. You wouldn't even know the sun turned off for 8 minutes and 20 seconds. That's how long sunlight takes to travel 150 million kilometers to reach your eyes. So if the sun vanished right now, this very second, you'd still be sitting in full daylight, completely unaware, for another 8 minutes. Then, darkness. Not the gentle darkness of a cloudy day, not dusk. Instant, total, midday blackness. Stars appearing in what was the afternoon sky. The temperature still warm, for now. The first thing to fail? Power grids. Solar panels, which supply electricity to hundreds of millions of homes worldwide, would drop to zero output instantly. Entire regions that depend on solar energy would begin losing power within seconds. But that's just the opening act. Within the first hour, the world would enter a state of organized panic. GPS satellites rely on precise timing signals calibrated against solar position. Aviation systems would begin flagging errors. Air traffic controllers would be managing hundreds of planes mid-flight in total darkness, over terrain pilots can't see. On the ground, temperatures begin dropping. Now here's where most people get surprised. Earth doesn't lose heat instantly. The ground, the oceans, the buildings, they're all radiating stored thermal energy. So the first hour? Maybe a 2 to 3 degrees Celsius drop. Uncomfortable, not deadly. But here's what is immediately deadly. Photosynthesis stops. Every single plant on Earth stops producing oxygen. And while Earth's atmosphere holds enough oxygen for humans to breathe for thousands of years, the plants themselves begin a shutdown sequence that has a hard deadline. By hour 2, the temperature drop accelerates. Equatorial regions, normally 30 degrees Celsius, are cooling fast. Northern latitudes are plunging below freezing. Exposed crops begin to die. Here's a fact that will genuinely shock you. Within 6 hours, surface temperatures in most parts of the world would fall between 10 and 15 degrees Celsius. That's not a cold night. That's a climate catastrophe compressed into an afternoon. The oceans act as a giant heat battery, releasing warmth slowly, which is the only reason coastal cities fare better. But even they can't hold out forever. Wildlife would be thrown into chaos. Birds that navigate by the sun's position would be completely disoriented mid-flight. Migratory animals would stop moving entirely, unsure of direction. Nocturnal animals, confused by the extended darkness, would behave erratically, venturing into territory they normally avoid. And the insects? Bees and butterflies, the primary pollinators, would ground themselves immediately. No sun, no foraging. The pollination of food crops would halt entirely. Halfway through, 12 hours of darkness. Surface temperatures are now 20 to 25 degrees below normal. In Canada, Siberia, and Scandinavia, this means life-threatening cold for anyone caught outside. Heating systems reliant on electricity, already strained, begin failing in regions where the grid has collapsed. Pipes begin freezing in homes. Hospitals, running on backup generators, are rationing fuel. And here's something scientists have actually modeled. The atmosphere itself would begin to change. Water vapor near the surface would start crystallizing. You'd see something like a ground-level fog forming across vast areas. Not regular fog, but ice fog. Microscopic ice crystals suspended in air, the kind that makes it harder to breathe. Global supply chains, already digital and fragile, would begin snapping. Automated systems that run 24/7 warehouses aren't designed for a world where sensors fail, where cold temperatures crash servers, where everything that depends on daylight simply stops. This is the part that haunts scientists most. By hour 15, something deeply unsettling happens to the human psyche. Our brains are hardwired to sunrise. Circadian rhythms, your internal biological clock, are governed almost entirely by light exposure. Without it, the human brain begins flooding the body with melatonin. Not just sleepy melatonin, excessive levels that cause confusion, disorientation, even depression. Studies on polar night in places like northern Norway show that just weeks of reduced sunlight cause measurable drops in serotonin. Now imagine that compressed into hours, globally, simultaneously. Mass anxiety, impaired decision-making. The people making the decisions to keep infrastructure running would be biologically impaired. Here's the one beautiful detail in all of this. For the first time in modern history, every person on Earth would see the Milky Way in full. Every city, every suburb, no light pollution. The entire galaxy arching overhead. 1 billion people seeing the stars properly for the first time in their lives. The sun comes back, and Earth exhales. Photosynthesis resumes. Solar panels recharge. The temperature begins, slowly, climbing back. But not everything recovers. Up to 30% of surface crops exposed to the cold would be dead, non-recoverable. In tropical farming regions that lost 15 to 20 degrees overnight, the damage would be permanent for that growing season. Billions of dollars in infrastructure damage from frozen pipes, cold crash systems, and power failures. And the psychological impact? Mental health researchers suggest a globally synchronized traumatic event like this would affect humanity for years. But here's the final fact, the one that puts all of this into perspective. The sun has been doing this reliably for 4.6 billion years. It has never missed a single day, not once. Every sunrise you've ever seen, every warm afternoon, every plant that grew, every breath you've taken, courtesy of a star that has shown up, without exception, for longer than the Earth has had oceans. One day without it would break the world. Which maybe tells you something about how extraordinary it is that it never stops. So next time you feel the sun on your face, really feel it. Remember, you're standing on a rock, hurtling through space, kept alive by a nuclear furnace 150 million kilometers away that has never once let you down. That's not something to take for granted. If you want to know what would happen if the moon disappeared instead, or if Earth suddenly stopped spinning, those videos are coming. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss them. And if this blew your mind even a little, you know what to do. Like the video and subscribe to our channel.